Are we reaching an era where we may need to put aside labels because they're less important, because the world is changing? We may have to re-evaluate how labels are used on us, how we look at it. A label which you place on yourself, or let's say, for example, that you are of this community, or you are part of this sect, or you have this particular title, and that could be so beneficial to you to get ahead. And then if you don't have that, but you have so much to offer in this world, you could be stifled from doing great things. I want to ask you whether you have ever made those kind of statements. I have had a condemned childhood. My youth is gone. I'm of a low caste. I don't have an education, so it is hard for me to be successful. I don't have time. All these are labels which we put upon ourselves. Then there are labels which others put on us, which we may not want, and that is like a burden for us to carry our whole life. For example, it could be religious labels, it could be racial labels, it could be financial, or it could be the labels of where you live, what kind of neighborhood you have. What is the thing that we need to do is breaking past the labels that bind. I was brought up in a community which had a lot of labels. Labels in terms of people look at me and they say to me, oh, by your name, you're a Muslim woman. You shouldn't be dressing like this. Cover up. Do they even know what my religion is? They just assumed. They have never had interaction with me. I have never declared my belief systems, but they assumed you are a Muslim woman because of my name, which is a Persian name, and then they say, cover up. It's sad that this kind of thing can happen. We may be dragged down or stifled because of this. I had to focus on moving away from labeling myself, even though others would do that. As I moved away from labeling myself, I found that in some ways, then the people around will also shift away from labeling me. They would see me as more empowered. They would see me as not what they think I should be, but based on what I choose to protect. And that no longer binds me or places a handcuff on what I can potentially be. I have two groups of families. I have some family members who wear full hijab, and I have family members who don't. Do I label them? No. Do I treat them differently because of how they dress? No. We have reached an era, I believe, that we can go past labeling, religious labeling, racial labeling, wealth labeling. I don't decide to associate people because, oh, that person is more wealthy, so that's more my friend. No. This is something which we have to work on ourselves. Even though society must say, stay away from people like that because, oh, they're of a lower caste. Stay away from that religious group because they are that religion, we are of this religion. The basis of humanity comes in. Even though we know this, how many of us do we really practice this? We have several labels that we carry with us everywhere we go, and sometimes we don't realize it. What I encourage you to do is to ask the people who you trust on what kind of labels that you carry, so that you can spend time to reevaluate and say, hey, I can remove this label. Because when we move away from them, we can break past it and go into this limitlessness. A person who's limitless doesn't focus too much on titles, doesn't focus on the past, because labels most of the time is based on the past, carrying the past. Oh, I had a bad child, so I can't do this. Breaking past all that. It's the now. I would say this from the perspective of God. God's power is always bigger than our past. God's truth is bigger than the current truth in our lives. Think about that. The past and the current truth. So, being led by God, we get past the past. Being led by God, we are shown the greater truth. And the greater truth It's not bound by anything. It breaks past boundaries. When you break past boundaries, God will give a new purpose, and God will also give us a new future. You become a shining light. You become an example, a beacon, and the people who are close to you will see that happen. You've read in scriptures the story of Rahab, the prostitute, how she became the great grandmother of Jesus. She was a prostitute. So she was labeled a prostitute, and she was one. When she went through circumstances realm, she had a new future. Don't assume that what you are born with, what you have gone through, that will determine your future. I've seen so many amazingly intelligent people who never achieve their full potential because they say, oh, I've gone through abuse. Oh, I never really had a proper education. We've already seen so many incidences of great people without a college degree achieve, the great things that they have. They've gone past labels. They don't put themselves in those categories anymore. They don't put themselves according to those societal guidelines anymore. Spend time in reflection, spend time in prayer, telling the truth of yourself to God. When you tell the truth of yourself to God, you are getting out of the state of denial, because labeling really is a state of denial. It's a can't do, shouldn't be done, not the way it's supposed to be. So spend time in meditation or prayer and release out the truth about yourself and be totally honest with God, and release that I am putting these labels on myself, I'm putting these restrictions on myself, it's my own fault. Stop pretending to be someone you are not. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to subscribe by clicking above, and also please share this video with as many people as possible so that they can benefit from the message. I also invite you to read my first book, Through the Golden Door, The Doorway to Advancement.